Welcome to the Geekly. My name is Jules.
I'm Lex, and we have a very exciting day today. But
we hit 5,000 followers on Twitter, so thank you very much if you follow us on Twitter. Huge moment.
Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely excited. We haven't even been on Twitter a year, and we're over 5,000 at this point, so It's like super awesome.
Yeah, excellent news. We're going to do our prize draw shortly, but we've got a few things to talk about first. What have you been up to this week?
I've been doing geekly stuff. That's basically it. I've been organizing giveaways and working on the website. We have a website now too. That's another cool thing.
It's really good, and I must say, recorded for all to hear, you've done an exceptional job. It looks really, really good. So congratulations on that. I personally have felt like I've had a bit of an oval-shaped hole in my heart for the last couple of weeks. I really enjoyed the show, I have to be honest. It's connected with me in a way that few shows have this year. And as a result, I've kind of been watching The Next Generation. I've seen bits and pieces of it over the years, quite a few episodes, but I'm going back and doing like a watch, in earnest, starting from the beginning, making my way through, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's a great show. I absolutely love it. I grew up with The Next Generation and watched like a considerable amount of them, but like last year I did the same thing, I did it with all of the Star Trek things, films included. That's
what I'm planning on doing. I found a chronological watching list for The Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, and the Picard films as well. I'm going to save all the Kirk stuff for like maybe another time. I have seen most of them before. In England, you probably saw it as well. The Next Generation was always on, I think it was after or before The Simpsons, when The Simpsons used to be on BBC One. So I'd always like catch the end or catch the beginning of it when I was watching The Simpsons, but really enjoying it, and I'm going to plough through and just another thing I'm watching at the moment. There just aren't enough hours in the day really for watching things.
But I mean, like, the Star Trek thing is really good. It will keep you occupied for months, getting through everything.
And I think you said, like, Star Trek put you onto the Orville. It's weird that the Orville's kind of putting me onto Star Trek.
I did it kind of the other way around. I was like, I finished The Next Generation and was like, damn, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, I need some more of this. And there was the Orville.
We did a couple of polls this week.
We did a couple of polls. Our first one is actually based off of our fan casting from last week, who had the better Fantastic Four team, and Jules won overwhelmingly at 65%.
I think Melissa McCarthy put me over the edge.
Yeah, a lot of people like really, really liked that edition.
And people mightn't understand it, but when I saw her as Sean Spicer, she's known as this kind of comedian, does funny films. I think she's got range that people don't appreciate. She could be Ben Grimm, and I think she could wear the Mark Ruffalo CGI suit or whatever it is that we see pictures of him wearing on the sets of Infinity War and stuff like that. And I think she could be the thing. I think that's what put me over the edge. And next week, we are going to cast 7 members of the Justice League, and we're going to pick our own Justice League, as well as picking the actors that portray them.
Yes.
This is as if the DCEU has finally given up the ghost, and Zack Snyder's come to us and said, Lex and Jules, please help us.
Give us a Justice League that we can use.
Yeah, give us something new, give us something fresh. I'm probably going to purposefully go for slight unknowns, people that would sign 7 film deals. I'm not going to go for like George Clooney or like Tom Cruise that would be in for like 1 and then suddenly they don't want to be in it anymore.
They're kind of like in the upper age range. I mean, I know you like your very old superheroes, but
I mean, the A-listers. I'm not going to go for people that have other projects going on. Kind of like Batfleck. We always knew was going to happen with him, so I'm going to go for kind of unknowns. Have you got any kind of ideas of what you're going to look for in your?
I think I'm going to do an all-female Justice
really?
League.
Fair enough. And all female characters and then all female casting, or are you going to go for like some gender swap casting?
No, just all female characters, all female casting.
Fantastic, cool.
All female Justice League.
I might do an all male one.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Maybe they can be like a kind of, instead of the 7, they could be a 14 in a constant rotating roster of
Justice League members.
That'd be quite cool. Okay, fantastic. I'm looking forward to that.
The second poll I did, I have this weakness for trashy supernatural teen dramas. So I've been watching The Order, which also obviously features werewolves and stuff. So my question to Twitter was, if you were offered the chance to become a supernatural creature like a werewolf or a vampire, would you take it and what would you be? 63% said hell yeah, 29% were maybe, and only 8% were no way. And I have to say that 8% of people, what the fuck is wrong with you? Most people wanted to be some kind of shapeshifter. I'm including werewolves under that. Like, overwhelmingly it was werewolves and shapeshifters. I expected vampires because they used to be kind of the most popular thing, but no, everybody wants to be a shapeshifter now. Did find a couple of other unknown creatures I'd never heard of. The Bannock was one, which is a Ukrainian bathhouse sprite that does stuff with like fertility and childbirth and things like that. So that was pretty interesting.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. hope you learned something.
I think flights would be something I'd be interested in.
A lot of, like, I used to ask people, like, it used to be my kind of, like, getting to know you question, what superpower would you have?
Mine's always fly.
Everybody wants to fly. And
because I don't drive.
Oh,
I think it would be a very practical use. I'd be up and I'd land and then, just walk along.
Mine is like teleportation, just like boom, there.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably actually a good point. I think just the scenic view, or the scenic route, would be the difference between the two of them.
Flying would be kind of annoying after a while. Think about the weather conditions. You'd always, like, end up soaked wherever you ended.
Yeah.
Like, Superman flies down and he looks all, like, intact and whatever. His hair would be, like, this huge mess. His, like, clothes would be soaked. He'd have ice, like, frozen on parts of him,
Maybe I'd just be like, 6 feet off the ground. Maybe that'd be my thing. Watch out, everybody! Whoa, Jesus, watch out!
Or just like slightly hover, like 6 inches off the ground,
just completely take people out. I'd probably wear like a bicycle helmet, 6 feet off the ground.
Get your like shoulder and knee pads as well.
Yeah, maybe I'd wear like an L plate, swing around my neck like a medallion, so people would know. Just as I was starting out. Anyway, enough of that. Let's do our prize draw.
Yeah, let's do our prize draw.
So, first prize is going to be the mystery box, but we're going to do 3 runners up, and we're going to send you badges.
We wanted to share the love with this. It's a great accomplishment. We got it because of you all, so we want to do as much as we can for you.
Yeah, we're going to send these badges worldwide. They're going to be at least you tried badges. And yeah, so what order should we do? Should we do the runners up first?
I'm going to do the runners up first,
okay.
And then like build up to the, like, hold the suspense.
Okay.
So, okay, we've got our, like, magic...
I've given that, like, a real shuffle. This is like FA Cup third round draw day, where they get the bag of balls, and they always check the bag to make sure a ball isn't still in there.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
First runner up.
The first runner up is our True Crimes podcast. You'll get a badge. Next one is, and I'm... hopefully I say this right, Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. And Her American Story. So those are our 3 runners up. You guys will be getting badges. You'll hear from me shortly, just to get your details and stuff.
This is really great audio.
Yeah.
Okay, just give it a nice shuffle.
Nice little
here
shuffle.
We go.
So here we go.
The winner
our
is...
mystery box winner is Christian and Damon's Amazing Nerd Show.
Congratulations.
So congratulations, guys. You'll be getting a free mystery box of random goodies that we decided to put together for you. So I'm actually really excited about putting together a mystery box. I love sending stuff to people. So this should be like cool. Very cool. All right, so should we move on to our shows?
Let's get on to Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
I thought this was another strong episode of Swamp Thing.
I did too. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted. It was very, very Abby and Alec centered. We learned a lot about what's going on in the swamp. There was some other stuff with, like, Avery, the Sunderlands, and the sciencey stuff, which I wasn't too interested in, but it wasn't the main focus of the episode, so that's fine. They can continue to do that in the background. There's some interesting developments between Sheriff Cable and Maria Sunderland, kind of at the end of the episode. Apparently they're working together now, which I didn't see coming, but yeah, apparently they seem to have plotted Avery's death together.
I think, like you said, we've wanted episodes that are about Abby and Alec, and we got one this week. But the thing that surprised me was that, away from those two, I actually found the story of the kind of B-rate characters quite interesting as well. And like you always say, it always comes back to story. And the fact that they went out onto the swamp, him and the sheriff, and then Matt turned up, and it was this whole off-screen, we hadn't been present for the fact that they'd made this arrangement where they were going to kill Avery, and then at the very end you found out that even his wife was in on it. That was interesting, and that wasn't the main story. So both the A story and the B story were good this week, and that's great.
I also did like that we got to see Maria's strength in this episode, whereas like up until now she's been kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And, seeing her dead daughter and freaking out about Abby and all kinds of things. In this episode, Avery was gone. They were supposed to have this big business meeting to get funding. Avery doesn't show up because, well, he's being murdered in the swamp. And so Maria just kind of takes the helm. And she does it magnificently. And, yeah, I really liked seeing this kind of untapped potential in her, and that she is kind of a force to be reckoned with.
I liked it because there was this moment where she's making this pecan pie, and Avery's talking, kind of not talking down to her, but kind of like, know your place. She goes to find Woodrow, and she starts asking questions about whether the man he brought out of the coma, can you do this? Is it feasible? Because she was doing her prep work for this meeting. And at the meeting, again, she was incredibly knowledgeable, talking to this guy. Again, he perceived her to be just Avery's wife. She really showed some depth to her
she
character
didn't
we
even
haven't
have to
quite seen
reference
before.
the syllabus that they were like. Everybody else was like reading through the syllabus, and she's just sitting there with it set off to the side, just like spouting off all of these facts and technical terms, and like obviously in a very good command of her knowledge base.
Yeah, and she even knew something about his company, that he was kind of a seeker, and she said, "I've still got friends in high places." And I liked it because it felt like this was the episode where she came out of Avery's shadow. She showed something this episode we haven't really seen before. Like you said, she's been a mess, and she's supposedly on maybe some anti-anxiety medication or something.
Some sort of medication. He made a mention of it, and just by her reaction, I kind of wonder if she's not taking it.
That's my assumption as well. Just that pretending that, you know,
like, oh yeah, that must be it.
yeah. So that was great for her. But yeah, the Alec and Abby story, everything we've wanted, him to be her primary interest. And again, we learned some more about Alec's powers, which I really liked. Abby was hungry, he didn't even think about it, and suddenly these plants with plums and other fruits start growing in his lab. They go out into the swamp and they find the rot. She gets some flesh-eating bacteria, comes back to his lab again, and she says, "I need Chinese lantern," which is a really strong antiseptic. And he just thought about it, and this plant, I don't know, she said it doesn't grow here, maybe it doesn't even grow in America, and he could just make it grow out of thin air, which was really cool.
Yeah, and it taps into this idea that, well, it's not so much an idea as it's a fact, that plants do have this underground network with each other, and so he is able to tap into this plant network and bring things from, you know, however far away into the swamp. And it's a really cool idea that, you know, he communicates with the plants, and I guess at this stage he's kind of somewhere, he's the bridge between plants and human. He's kind of somewhere in the middle.
One of the serial killers in the TV show Hannibal takes people, plants them underground, and grows mushrooms out of the back of them. We see this visual interpretation as well of the fact that plants can talk to each other. This network, it's alive, kind of feels very pertinent for a show about Swamp Thing, because that's kind of his thing. So we need to know that, we need to be told that, and yeah, it's a fascinating thing. One thing I forgot to talk about last week that I really liked as well was he kind of put his hand out Groot style and grew this flower, and kind of spores came off the flower like a hallucinogen kind of thing, so Abby can see Alec rather than seeing Swamp Thing. And I hope we get more of that, because as great as Swamp Thing looks, I love the guy. I think I don't know if I've seen him in anything before. I'm really enjoying him, and so it's good that he wasn't just in one episode and the occasional flashback. They're probably going to have a romantic relationship. That's the way it's kind of being played out, which I'm into. And it's nice to see that the actor is being given a little bit more than just...
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, because I quite liked him as well, and I was a bit disappointed that he wasn't going to like be Swamp Thing, because they have another actor for the Swamp Thing character, and I kind of felt bad for him, because like, you know, he's sort of playing the titular character, but he's not playing the titular character at the same time. And I was like, you know, that must be kind of a bummer. But so yeah, I'm glad that they're bringing him back, and that he's going to be kind of, it seems like he's going to be sort of a constant part of the show, that we see the two sides of Swamp Thing, both the man and I get the kind of like quote unquote monster.
Yeah. I liked when he was giving her kind of microsurgery. It was kind of like acupuncture crossed with surgery, with his little, you know,
it's like
vines coming out of his hand.
Like...
He was trying to coax, I think he's like, the body has flora inside. He was trying to coax the flora to fight off this disease. Again, just simply a great visual. It reminded me a little bit of, you know, in Endgame, where Doctor Strange is being held with all those, like, they look like shards of glass, and the guy talks about hitting all the pain centres. It was kind of like that, and an acupuncture kind of thing. He was putting all these little darts into... Yeah, this show is visually so great every week. There's always something new for us to kind of talk about on the visuals.
Well, and speaking of the visuals, one of the things that I noticed this week, because like the episode ends with Alec kind of saying, "You need to go. Like, it's not safe for you here. I don't want you here. Like, I'm part of something, and I think there must have been a reason." And so, like, the kind of final shot of him is just him sort of sitting alone as Abby's sailing off. And even with all that makeup and stuff on him, the depth of emotion that the actor's able to convey with that, like, I just found it really amazing, and really, I mean, it's a tribute to, like, the makeup artist, the actor, and kind of the whole team that brings that character together.
Matt is terrible at keeping secrets.
Yeah, he's like the worst at keeping. Never confide in Matt Cable about anything.
Told everybody everything.
He's that guy who, like, you're planning a surprise party with your friends, and he tells the friend, like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming to your party later."
Yeah, I'll see you there. Like, what? Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
What an absolute tool. So yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks it feels like the show's corrected itself in some
I think
pretty big
like,
ways.
it had a bit of a lull in mid-season, and it's gotten back to where it needed to be. It's got that creepy feel again. It's focused more on what's going on in the swamp instead of in the lab, and we're getting more Swamp Thing and more kind of the supernatural element rather than the sciencey technical element. I like that. Krypton this week. Actually thought this week was pretty good as well.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I know.
The first, I don't know what episode we're on to, like, we 5 or 6, I can't remember, but the first 5.
Yeah.
The first 3, let's say 3, because last week was okay. I thought, oh Jesus, this is a tough watch.
I was fully expecting, before I watched this episode, I was fully expecting us to come into this week and be like, you know what, we're gonna call it. That's it.
Yeah.
We're done with Krypton. It's not doing it for us. This is our rating. If you want to check it out, go check it out. But we're not going to review it on the show anymore. Yeah. And then last week was kind of all right, and this week I felt was a really strong episode.
Yeah, I did.
I'm like, okay, maybe they're like turning it around now.
It's weird, isn't it? I mean, it feels unrecognisable from even episode 1 of this series. There was this great moment. Zod has Seg prisoner. Jax has Lyta prisoner. They've got this standoff happening. Jax says she'll return Lyta if the Sagittari leave Weg Thor and return to Kandor. Zod's like, yeah, okay, I want to save my mum. Anything you want. Shows them this image of the Sagittari taking the lift, and then we find out they're actually rebels disguised as Sagittari. Jax discovers the deception, and she's got this camera beaming out to all of Kandor. Zod can watch it as well, and she's like, you said you're going to do the thing, you're not doing the thing, and she slits Lyta's throat. Just wow. I mean, what a twist, what a kind of game-changing moment in the whole show. I think this is actually, I found out, I think this is the mid-season finale, so we're going to have some weeks off, but what a gutsy thing for the show to do.
Yeah, I did not expect that.
Not at all.
At all. Like, I was thinking, like, of course they're not going to, like, kill Lyta or put her in any real danger. It's just going to be a symbolic thing, and something's going to happen, and she's going to get away or whatever, or they're going to, like, brainwash her. No, like, just they went for it.
Repercussions. I mean, what's Seg gonna do? What's Zod gonna do? What's Val gonna do? Is Jax the new enemy now? I mean, it's you don't know. It's
because there was a moment when Jax reveals that she has Lyta. Zod and Seg kind of formed a little bit of an alliance. So they were like, we both want Lyta to stay alive. Like, we were both willing to do anything to keep her alive. And then, of course, like, Seg finds out that Zod is not planning on getting rid of the Sagittari, that it's a ploy, and he tries to warn them, and they go back to their adversarial position. But I think it does sort of lend to the idea that the two of them will team up at some point further on in the season.
That's what it feels like to me. It's not quite the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation, but they have a common goal now. One's mother just died. One's kind of love interest just died. It'll be interesting to see where the dust settles after this. Jax, again, what do you think is going to become of her now?
I think she will probably become a villain. I don't think she can be redeemed for killing Lyta.
No, I don't.
Just give. If it'd been somebody else, maybe, but not Lyta.
Yeah.
Like, Lyta is too central to a lot of the main characters. Val has been kind of suspicious of Jax for a little bit now. He hid the codex from her, and I don't think he could ever condone murder like that.
It's like when they kept saying Val would never let that happen, and Seg was like, did you just see Val talking? We're not talking to Val, we're talking to Jax, knowing that she's obviously not quite on the same moral place that Val is.
Like, have you seen Val anywhere?
Yeah.
Like,
is Lyta going to be brought back?
I think she has to be.
Yeah.
Because baby Zod hasn't come into being yet.
Yeah.
And it's already well established that she's his mother and Seg is his father. And just, for the future, because obviously General Zod is part of Superman's future, so he has to exist. Whether they do, like, a weird time travel thing where he ends up back in the Phantom Zone and... Yeah, I don't know. Time travel confuses me a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it confuses...
Well, because the thing it confuses me is, since seeing Endgame, there are now 2 types of time travel.
Yeah.
There's Back to the Future time travel, and there's Endgame time travel. So, we're not on Dark yet, but that's shown itself to be Back to the Future time travel, which is quite interesting. But, yeah.
Well, kind of. It's Dark is sort of another version of time travel as well.
Yeah.
It's the closed loop theory.
What did you make of Seg's kind of transition from kind of slightly bumbling in season 1 to he's like I know he's got Brainiac in his brain, but he's now
It was a bit much.
It seemed very quick.
It was very quick.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was his attitude to the quickness. Like, he didn't seem shocked or surprised.
Not at all, yeah.
He was absolutely confident that he was going to be able to do this. And like, I could have bought that he was suddenly able to do it because of the influence of Brainiac,
Yeah.
but I would have expected Seg to be a little bit more like
Shocked at
"Whoa,
his new
what the fuck?"
abilities, yeah. I mean, he was whipping out some great one-liners where he's like, "Hello, son," like really menacing. And when he actually gives him a bit of a pistol whipping, Zod, and he comes, I didn't write them down, but he comes out with some other great one-liners. Brainiac has stopped Seg's reconditioning. He was the reason that didn't happen. It's kind of turned him into Deadshot. And when you could hear Brainiac like counting down the shots, like 1.2 seconds, and then bang, and it was great to watch, but it happened too quickly.
Yeah, it
slightly
happened too
unbelievable.
quickly.
But I like him as slightly less than bumbling.
Yeah.
He
So he needs to be somewhere in
somewhere
between
in the
the
middle,
two.
yeah.
In between the two of them.
Jax's eye laser
That was pretty cool.
was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Right, it was like a kind of myopic Superman style
Yeah.
laser beam coming out of her eye, taking down all the enemies. I thought it was really cool. Nyssa being unaware that the oxygenators were faulty. I genuinely thought she was helping the cause, I think.
That was another thing I liked about this episode is they did firmly put her down. Like, she has chosen a side. She's chosen the Resistance.
Yeah.
But it's kind of frustrating because it's one of those situations that if she went to the Resistance and told them the truth, it would probably be fine. They would be like, okay, they tricked you. You thought you were helping, whatever.
Yeah.
But she's not, and so she is going to be an enemy of both sides now. So it leaves a big question about what's going to happen to her, what's going to happen to her son. I'm more interested in her story now that like we know where her allegiances actually lie.
So I think we both agree, probably the strongest episode maybe ever of Krypton, certainly this series, I
Definitely
would say.
this season.
Yeah, really enjoyable, and kind of weirdly looking forward to the next episode whenever the mid-season break ends.
Such a turnaround because
Yeah.
I was so ready to give up on Krypton.
We've had off-camera conversations about potentially not
maybe it's time
continuing.
to pull the plug.
Yeah. It felt grand. It felt like, when you saw like Jax talking to all the people of Krypton, that felt like a kind of grandeur that we haven't really had. We've been seeing a lot of things happening on Wegthor, this kind of like waste, kind of, it's quite a barren land, people walking about.
Well, there've been like a lot of scenes up until this point of people just standing in places talking about things. I think there is a time and place for that, but up until this point there's been entirely too much of it. We needed a bit more action, and this episode really, really delivered on the action.
Yeah, great. Well, looking forward to the next episode. Let's move on to Dark.
I absolutely love this show.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. First things first, a little bit of admin. I listened to the first 20 minutes, and I thought to myself, this is some of the worst dubbing I've ever heard in my entire life. So I immediately put it on German with English subtitles.
Oh, I always do subtitles. I hate dubbing. I cannot stand dubbing.
Yeah, it was just a much more pleasant experience. People who dub things are shown the amount of lip space they have and have to cram words in. So occasionally they will talk like this and it will sound really odd, and that's what it felt like to me. If you're watching this, I think Netflix originally will throw it up in American dubbing. Change to German and English subtitles, just please. And it's a bit of reading, but it'd be a much more pleasurable experience, I would say. Anyway, let's move on.
It'll be good for you too. You get a little bit of exposure to another language.
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning bits of German as well.
So. It was coming back to me. I was sort of, because I've watched season 1 before, so I pretty much knew it was happening. So I wasn't paying like full attention. I was playing Pokemon during it.
I love that I've got you hooked.
I've gotten Mewtwo and Entei now. I've captured all of the secret.
Amazing. Well, let's say that
anyway,
for another conversation.
Back to Dark.
I'd never seen this before, full
disclosure.
disclosure.
You've never seen it. So I'd seen it before, so I was just kind of like watching it to refresh my memory. I have a little bit of German, so I was kind of like testing myself to see like which words I remember and which pronunciations and things like that. Personally, for me, I always watch things with subtitles. The dubbing bugs me because it doesn't actually match up to what their mouths do.
It made me want to stick a fondue fork in my thigh. It was that bad. I mean, sometimes there's good dubbing, but this was particularly bad dubbing. I hate bad dubbing. So when there is the option to switch it back, I always do.
And like we've already mentioned, it revolves around time travel. And the idea is that there's this wormhole in a cave, and it links 3 different periods.
Should we say full spoilers just before we continue?
Oh, yeah.
Just because this is very good, and
it is
I'd recommend
very
you watch
good.
it.
Season 2 is
before.
out, so hopefully a lot of you have seen Season 1, but yeah, there will be full spoilers. If you haven't watched it yet,
Pause this, watch it.
Go watch
There
it.
are only 8 episodes? No, 10 episodes.
They're 10
yeah.
episodes.
And they're just
But
about
it
each.
goes
Very
so
quickly,
fast.
Yeah. I think I watched it in like a day and a half.
Yeah, I
Very
did
good,
about the
yeah.
same, and I started it thinking like, oh, I'm going to watch 3 episodes this day, 3 episodes that day, planning it out. Once I got started, I was like, I want more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so their concept of time travel is there's this wormhole, and it links these 3 different periods of time, 33 years apart. So there's 1953, 1986, and 2019. And it takes place in this small village called Winden in Germany, presumably. So you see, particularly like the elderly characters in 2019, you see them as young people in 1953. You see the parents of 2019 as young people in 1986. So there are at least 2 actors for every character. The relationships are great. The aesthetic is just fucking cool.
It's got that Netflix money, baby.
It does. And, it's got, like, the woods, and it's kind of dark. It's always raining. I mean, these people just stand out in the rain. Nobody has any umbrellas. The number of shots of people just drenched and standing in the rain. But it really adds to the aesthetic.
Yeah, I counted 1 umbrella the entire show, so you're absolutely right. They love the rain. I love the rain. So.
Jonas Convald is kind of the main character. One of his friend's little brother goes missing in the cave, and we find out that he's actually gone back to 1986, and the little brother ends up staying in 1986 and ultimately becoming Jonas's father. And then we have an older Jonas who's trying to put everything back to normal, but we don't really know what normal is. And that's kind of where it ends. The season ends. I'm really looking forward to season 2.
I think, was it last week you said it was like an adult Stranger Things?
Yeah.
In every conceivable way, this is better than Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's way better than
Yeah,
Stranger
and in
Things.
every conceivable way, it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum than Stranger Things. Stranger Things, primary colours, every opportunity they get, they kind of relate it to 80s pop culture. This is very dark, very dingy, kind of washed out. No pop culture references. They play, I think, 2 songs from the 80s, like German 80s songs. Everybody in Stranger Things is kind of quite happy, quite positive people. Winden is a very hopeless place. Everybody's quite sad. They're not living their best lives. And also, the other thing I like is that the kids, we talk about how dumb they are in Stranger Things. All the young people in this are actually switched on. They're actually quite competent human beings, which I really liked. It was a great change of pace from last week. It was visually and audibly great. The score is great. I like the kind of like these kind of scores that really undercut moments of unease throughout the show. Very easy to watch. Loved it. Looking forward to season 2. And it's not often we really love things on this show. But it sounds like you've come back for second helping.
Because season 1 came out.
2017 December.
It's been a few years, and I watched it when it first came out, and I'd actually forgotten how much I really enjoyed this show. One of the things that I enjoy most about it is there aren't really any glaring plot holes, which is difficult to do when you have a show about time travel.
Absolutely.
It's incredibly difficult to do, but it just pulls you along, and you never sit there and think, wait, would that be right? Would that... And, you just go with it, the whole thing, and I think that's... it's a really difficult thing to pull off, and they've done it really, really well.
Do you know what I found interesting? We never get people actually going back and killing baby Hitler.
Yeah.
And this is what Ulrich basically went back
he
to
tries to do.
And then thinks he has done.
Yeah.
And...
and I mean, it was quite brutal, because you have, probably 40, 50-year-old man beating the hell out of, an 8-year-old kid with the rock.
Yeah.
And they don't pull back from it. It's focused mostly on Ulrich. I obviously don't show you, bashing the actor's head in with the rock, but it's quite a brutal moment.
Yeah, and it's one of those beautiful things that, I think, is it Helga? He has this scarring down the side of his face and, cauliflower ear, and obviously we never know how that happens, but then when this happens, we are seeing how it happened, and so it's kind of fulfilling itself, which is great.
I mean, it's this whole idea about predestination, and that no matter what you do, you can't change the future, because even if you go back in time, that's part of the past already. So it's just they talk a lot about them being stuck in this time loop and wanting to break the loop and go on, but everything influences each other.
I personally can't think of anything more terrifying than being imprisoned in 1953, knowing that all you have to do is just walk
In Germany
back,
in 1953.
No, you just have to walk back through that cave to get back to modern day. And some of the things that are just so... I love time travel stories. When his, like, police partner... Or like is he the chief of police or is the woman the chief of police? I think the woman is.
The woman is the chief of police.
She looks back through newspapers throughout history to find out about when Helga was abducted briefly, and like she sees the picture of the man accused of his abduction and attempted murder, and it's Ulrich. It's Ulrich, and it's things like that. Just my nerd senses just go fucking crazy. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I have zero complaints about this show.
Yeah. It's like, was it a couple of years ago, like the Scandi Noir started to come in.
Yeah.
This is like that, crossed with time travel, set in Germany. Nothing we watch here on this podcast, I think my parents would be into, like, never. This I'm going to tell them about, because I think this be right up their street. Don't know what else to say, really.
Yeah, I mean, we would just sit here and, like, to go on and on about how amazing this show is. So I think the takeaway from this is, regardless of your feelings about subtitles, you need to go onto Netflix right now, watch Season 1... and Season 2. We'll be watching Season 2 next week, so hopefully it's just as good as the first season.
Yeah, I mean, who's this for? People love sci-fi, people love time travel, people into kind of... I mean, this is proper drama, isn't it?
It's a proper drama.
There is no,
it can appeal to
comic relief characters here at all.
A wide range of people. If you just like, your straight dramas, don't be put off on the fact that there's time travel, because there's quite a lot of interpersonal drama that's going on. You've got the kind of mystery of the missing children happening. There's some domestic issues going on, some questions of morality and... I think like Ulrich at one point says, 33 years ago I swore I would do everything differently, and it's 33 years later and now I'm the drunken asshole. And this idea that nobody's life really ended up the way they planned it to. None of them dreamed of this. When we go back to like 1986 and such, you can see sort of glimpses of who they become as adults, but they aren't completely formed into their adult characters yet. A lot of the relationships are still there as teenagers. I think particularly between Ulrich and Katerina, because they were high school sweethearts. And one of the funny moments is she's like, no kids ever, like never.
Yeah.
We're never having children. And he's like, okay, and like in 2019 they have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of theirs that is Jonas's father.
Yeah, Mikkel.
Mikkel.
And the final scene of the whole show, obviously we're assuming you've seen at this point, kind of spoilers, they go to 2052.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting.
And like the very last line is "Welcome to the future." So obviously the people that he encounters know who Jonas is, or at least where he comes from. So yeah, and I'm really, really interested in seeing where they go with that.
Don't be put off maybe by the kind of somber, dull palette, lack of hope beginning. It might be out of some people's comfort zone. I would really strongly advise you kind of push through. After episode 1, much like after episode 1 of the OA, I did feel I wasn't sold yet. It took till maybe 2 or 3 before I really caught fire on this. So just push through that first episode. This probably gets a higher rating than we've given it in quite a while.
Yeah.
It's nice to watch good things, isn't it?
It is.
Sometimes. Okay, so let's finish today by talking about All-Star Superman, or as I like to call it, the film that wouldn't end.
I know. It felt more like a collection of vignettes rather than like a full feature film.
Yeah, I've written down that it was like a 5-act story where each act was like its own little story. It was kind of like Batman, Ninja Batman, or whatever we watched way back when. Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah, and a lot of it was really kind of unnecessary. Which, I mean, it's not a particularly long movie. It's an hour and 15 minutes.
It felt like 3 hours.
I know. Like I kept checking the time like several times, and about halfway through, I could have sworn that we had like maybe 10-15 minutes left, and it was just so depressing that we were only halfway through.
They can't all be winners, unfortunately.
No.
Like you just said, a lot of it felt very unnecessary. He goes to do something with the bottle, City of Candor, comes back, and 2 new superheroes have taken over like the patrolling of Metropolis, who are basically arseholes. Within 5 minutes, they are about to die, and he has to send them to the Phantom Zone, and that's it. That little story wrapped up in a bow.
And it's not from anything that he did.
No.
They happened to fly through a debris field, and the molecules are turning into kryptonite. So, like, he basically shows up and saves one of them from dying, and then it was like, oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We had, like, 20 minutes of Lois's birthday, basically them just flying around being super people together.
Yeah. There are these two other heroes called Samson and Atlas who were trying to vie for Lois's attentions. They're doing these increasingly impressive acts to try and woo her, and they stole the necklace from the Sphinx, and Superman had to answer the question, what happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? They surrender. And so that was that, and then Atlas and Samson like faded away.
There really isn't a lot you can say about this film.
No.
I mean, it was incredibly long for an hour and 15 minutes. It didn't have much point. The kind of main storyline got very little attention. It was very underwhelming.
Yeah, a series of short stories about Superman, none of them that interesting.
And they were all very disconnected as well. Like,
Yeah.
it would have been one thing if there had been some sort of continuity between the various storylines, like these people had been working together, or what person A did allowed person B to do something else, or something like that. But they were all very disconnected stories that didn't really seem to have anything to do with each other. The only kind of overarching theme was that Superman is dying.
Yeah, from overexposure to the sun.
It's an hour of my life I will never get back.
Yeah, that's one to avoid as we make our way through the animated.
There's All-Star Superman. Do not watch.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's probably it for this week. You can find us on Twitter at GeekNerdPod.
We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/geeknerd, and facebook.com/thegeekly.
And we're also on our brand new, shiny website.
geeknerdpod.com. So yeah, hit us up.
Congratulations again to our winners.
Christian and Damon will be getting a mystery box from us. The other three will be getting some badges in the mail. We'll be doing another mystery box giveaway in a few weeks around our 1-year anniversary.
And this Friday, we're also doing our next Bandersnatch watch through, so that'll be going up on Patreon on Friday. We're going to do a mother mystery.
Yeah, and
focus it that way.
Fingers crossed we get a totally different movie this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.
See ya.